We want you to be an activist. And don't take our word for it. Look that shit up. Pulley.
Gonzales, Harris County Sheriff. This morning, we got dispatched to a call for service here at this location, at this apartment complex. It's a second floor apartment. Upon arrival, our deputies discovered 4 bodies inside the apartment with no apparent signs of life. Since then, we did indeed confirm that 4 are deceased. It appears to be 2 women, 1 adult male, and 1 child. It appears to be a South Asian family that resides here at the apartment. It appears that it's an estranged couple. So there's definitely a domestic violence nexus to this once again. What we know is that it appears that for several months now, at least, this couple has possibly been going through divorce proceedings or some type of formal separation. There has been a history of some ongoing issues between the two. More recently, it may have led to an allegation where the adult male had possibly injured the young child. That would be his daughter. So we're definitely going to look into that as well. One of the neighbors indicated that it had been approximately 5 months that he had been seen here on a more regular basis, but he has been seen since then. One of the recent reports may have been related to him possibly slashing her car tires, his female wife tires. So that was also being looked at, or will be looked at as well. This morning, when she didn't appear to work, she works at a school connected to a mosque, we're told, which was very strange for her not to show up. They sent somebody, and by then law enforcement was already on the scene. From the apparent observations that I just made right now, it appears that she was perhaps getting ready to go to work with the child when most likely confronted by the male party. And again, everything's concentrated within the living area and the kitchen area. The preliminary information that we have right now is that it would have been the male individual, the male suspect, who was the husband, would have shot his wife, who we believe is his wife, his 4.5-year-old daughter,
Damn,
and his mother-in-law, which would have been his wife's mother. We do observe a automatic.
Wait, they're being very soft with this, and they said that
Yes.
she went to a school that was a Muslim. Apparently, she worked at a Muslim school, so this sounds like these are Muslims. They're Islamic people,
but they won't say.
Yes. So and it sounds like that, and then the whole thing with the oppression of women. I think that's the thing. That's why they're being delicate with this. They're real soft with Saudi Arabia and other countries that do this. So they're like, I'm not gonna play this whole thing though because it's 16 minutes, but I'm gonna play a little more.
Yeah, that was enough.
Semi-automatic pistol.
Well, I want to play a little more.
This person, it hasn't been touched yet due to the scene still being processed, and very tragic situation, especially with a 4-year-old involved. It just breaks your heart, beyond words. And so that's the information we have. It's all contained there at the scene. And briefly in Spanish, mañana recibimos una llamada.
So basically, this is a dude, and he killed like all the women in his family, and then killed himself.
Yep, he killed 3 generations.
Those were all women.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. It sounds like it's. Oh, I don't want to.
His own daughter.
Let's see.
I believe the incident related to the possible injury to a child. It appears that an allegation was being made that the adult male, the husband, had tried to injure the daughter, and so we'll have to look into that. That was here within the last few weeks. I'd have to confirm that, but that's the information we have. The others were related to her tires possibly being slashed. I don't know if he was the.
It sounds like this guy was abusing this chick, bruh.
He was.
Let me.
He was refusing them food.
Let me see.
She didn't have no money. She couldn't go nowhere. So they was being divorced. She was gonna file. I don't know if they had still filed or were they just separated. But
I'm looking at the comments to see if they breaking anything out. I don't see anything yet. Is that all the comments? No way. See, there's something fishy with this. There's only 14 comments. This is really recent though. But still, there's only 14 comments. That's strange. He was going too detailed. Let's hear overall of this.
That breaking news out of Northwest Harris County, where deputies say 4 people were found dead of an apparent murder-suicide. Fox 26's Matthew Seedorf is live at the scene. And Matthew, what are you hearing from the sheriff's office about what happened here?
Well, Heather, it just sounds very tragic and extremely sad. It sounds like this couple had been going through a divorce, and the estranged husband decided to kill the couple's 4-year-old daughter, as well as his estranged wife and their mother-in-law. If I step out of the way, you can see sheriff's deputies still here. And we're learning...
Wait, he said their mother-in-law. Why did he say that? It can only be one of the mother-in-law, so it was probably
he just made a mistake. He just misspoke.
Okay.
That this couple has gone through this divorce over the last couple of months or so. The neighbors say that they've seen his car here occasionally over the last several months, but there's also reports that there's been issues with him and violence in the past as recently as within the last couple of months, where the sheriff says that there's an allegation that he possibly tried to drown this 4-year-old daughter at some point over the last few months, but it's early on in the investigation. We just heard from the sheriff moments ago. Here's what he had to say.
No suspect who was the husband would have shot his wife, who we believe is his wife.
We already heard the sheriff. Yeah, this is interesting. I don't want to say too much about this because I don't know.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
Yeah, I don't know enough. I need to know more to be able to make any kind of real comments. So that's just like a, sad
it's another
situation.
sad story.
Yeah.
That's all. I done had enough of the sad stories.
Yeah. So, well, let's get into something a bit funny. Am I sharing this? I think I'm sharing this. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look for it. So let me play this while I'm looking for it. But George W. Did y'all hear about what George W. said? George
No.
W. Mr. W. George W. Bush. Yeah, he had a little fraudulent slip, but I think it's really interesting. Hold on, why is the screen not updating? If y'all didn't hear about it, that's perfect. Because now you are gonna hear about it. Let me see, and that's the other thing I wanted to cover, a little bit about the disinformation thing. That lady, they suspended the the U.S. disinformation, whatever the hell it was called, department or whatever, because the lady stepped down because she said she was being harassed and shit. Oh, I think we can do the Russell Brand video. We'll explain the George W. But I saw something else. Fuck it, we'll do Russell Brand. I didn't have as much time as I do normally to get ready for this because I had to work. I've been working all week. Started a new job, training. So, anyways, I still got prepared for y'all.
Ukraine war! Ukraine war!
Let me take that
I
back.
just want to say right now that the Iraq war should be stopped. I mean, Ukraine war! Ukraine war!
That's funny.
What a peculiar journey it is, particularly when there are unconscious forces that remind you of mistakes you may have made in the past, literally when you're trying to talk. If you don't subscribe to this channel yet, subscribe right now. Remember, don't respond to the bots in the comments. of George Bush yet stumbling over his words. Let me give you a little bit of context. Some of you might be young people, for example. George Bush was, of course, president of the United States when America and England and a few other countries went to war in Iraq, apparently because there were weapons of mass destruction, horror, dread, terror. Saddam Hussein is a terrible dictator. It's confusing, isn't it? Because some of you think these stories sound familiar. I keep hearing these stories. Well, have a look at what George Bush said.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Now, this might be a bit spiritual for some of you, but I sometimes feel there are ulterior, unconscious forces within us.
Let me play that back for y'all. So this is what everybody is talking about. Just because, I mean, it was just a little slip, but, you know, hey.
Is an absence of checks and electoral process. Are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine.
Because it could go for either.
He's always been a dumbass.
Comments.
He always have been a dumbass.
Comments. What do
Oh,
you think
look, I got somebody driving up. I gotta let you go.
Okay.
All right. Love y'all.
All right. What do you think about it, Mina? Ewan, what do y'all think about that? Before I go on, I'm gonna play some more of this video, but I'm just curious. What do you think about, because they're condemning the whole Ukraine thing. Cry for Ukraine. We're sending them aid, all kinds of stuff. We just passed a 40 billion more aid package after we had gave them goo gobs of money already. So, and then you got George W. with the little slip, but the comparison between them talking about Putin and subbing out George W., then you don't see no difference. It was the same story. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it sounds like one, he's old, and I think he had a long history of talking about Iraq, and it sort of makes sense when he's older, he's going to make a slip up about it because it sounds similar to him. It's probably like a similar situation for him in his brain.
I think it's like, when you say word association, it's like invasion, Iraq.
Right. So those two connect for him. And when he's thinking about the situation in Ukraine, he's thinking about Iraq in the same breath because he spent years and years and years and years talking about the invasion of Iraq.
And that's fair. But what I'm saying is all those lines that he said before he said Iraq fit perfectly with Iraq, regardless of if it was a slip.
Why do you're talking about the invasion and people being kept out of the electoral process and
literally everything he said. He was talking about Ukraine, but you can apply literally all of that to Iraq. Literally,
do you mind replaying what he said?
Yeah, could you replay it?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it again. That's what I was about to do.
Political opponents.
Saddam Hussein, George Bush said.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
Then he said Iraq too.
Now, this might be a bit spiritual for some of you, but I sometimes feel there are ulterior.
I'm gonna let him play, but what I'm saying is he could have been describing himself in the United States when he
No, it
was.
sounds more like Russia than the United States. Like,
No,
that
you're
could have
not.
been applicable if you said he was invading Russia.
If he was invading Russia, no, it's the comparison of Putin and George W. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the
Putin,
difference is if I'm correct, we went into Iraq after the World Trade Center, did we not?
yes, that's true. Not the
So it's like
World
they
Trade
kind of
Center.
had 2,000 bodies over us before we entered, versus
But
Ukraine, where it was literally unprecedented and unprovoked.
wait, you didn't know that Iraq had zero to do with 9/11? I'm gonna
Which
need you to
country
look
was
that up.
That
I'm
was
gonna need you to know this.
Afghanistan.
Oh,
Af-
forgive
Afghanistan
me.
didn't
I'm
have anything
conflating
to
two
do
of
with
them.
I need you to
9/11.
know these things.
No, Afghanistan had nothing to do with 9/11. Iraq didn't either. But yeah, they it was a way for them to get into Iraq. But yeah,
So can you explain? So you're telling me, because I'm getting a little bit confused. Are you saying that George W. Bush and Putin have similar power or took similar stances as far as war?
Yes.
Okay.
And basically did similar things. You know what I'm saying? And then when they were describing Putin invasion of Ukraine, you could have easily just switched out Putin's name with George W. and it would fit.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Assassinating political rivals? That doesn't sound right.
It's because I need you to look up. You already did. Anyways, Deuce, what's up, Deuce?
No, I'd like you to finish the thought.
How you
What were
feeling?
you saying?
I'm all right
What
with
up?
it.
You good? What I'm saying is, you don't understand the situation. Apparently, you know what I mean. To get my analogy, because you need to understand what was happening. The whole thing with Iraq. Like, I mean, I went down a whole rabbit hole with Iraq. Like, I mean, maybe we could talk about that next week or something. But like, that's a whole thing. Like, I can't really just go down the Iraq road because it's so much with that. But basically, the basic fact that we already spoke about Iraq not having nothing to do with 9/11 is a basis point to be able to understand the situation, because they're saying that Russia is the aggressor, right? Aggressing on Ukraine. You know what I mean? What can you call the invasion of Iraq? It was the invasion of Iraq. That's an aggression. When they had zero to do with anything with 9/11, it was and we just felt like they was doing something wrong. And that's the same thing Putin is saying. I need to go over here and fix the situation.
But isn't Ukraine, in a sense, doing something wrong because of the simple fact that how Russia has felt, even dating way back before shit any of us was thought of, you know, back when it was Soviet Union, you know, how they felt about neo-Nazis and all of that shit, you know,
but you know, basically in international law and everything is wrong. But what I would say is that I feel like Russia's Ukraine aggression, you know, it's, I ain't gonna say more legitimate. That's not a good word. I can't find the right word, because war is war. People dying is dying. You know what I'm saying? Death is death. So, but
yeah.
Justified, is that the word? That's not the word either. I can understand his better. Like, it's people right on his border. He's protecting himself. You know what I'm saying? The invasion of Iraq didn't have no threats for us. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't protecting ourselves. He's protecting himself with that. He says, what is Putin trying to fix Ukraine? That's complicated. We talked about this a lot, though. We talked about the Nazis in Ukraine. Basically, I mean, that's what's happening. So Ukraine was breaking apart. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about this conflict. This didn't just start. There's already been a war going over there for like 8 years, I want to say. You know, Ukraine was breaking apart. It was parts of Ukraine that didn't want to be Ukraine no more. They did have Russian influence, a lot of these people are ethnically Russian anyways. The people are Ukrainians, and a lot of them identify themselves as Russian. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the cultures are very similar anyways. So it's complicated. That's the thing. I mean, it would take a lot to explain, but basically Ukraine breaking apart, you got this hard right, really a small group of people who are on the fringe, but they have infected the country throughout the government and the military and the police. So words, they have a lot of power, and they kind of got their grip on this country. And, it's this hard right neo-Nazi type factions. And Russia ain't feeling that. The other part of that, it's not just the Nazis that Russia's not feeling. Russia's not feeling NATO building bases right there next to their damn border. So that's what this is about. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a layer of economics here, because you got food production going on in these regions. So that's important. And then you have these pipelines that they're trying to build. That's the basics. I'm going to play some Russell Brand and let my voice rest.
Area unconscious forces within us individually and collectively. I'm not the first person to think this. Carl Jung had his theory of the collective unconscious, that there are aspects of our individual nature that are resourced somehow non-locally, as if we have a shared bank of memories and intuitions. Of course, a flat-out psychologist would say, well, what happened there is George Bush just found himself saying we shouldn't go to war at the behest of one man for no reason in a country like Iraq. Ukraine. I meant to say Ukraine. Did I say Ukraine there, or did I say Iraq? But I feel like, yes, of course, on some level, we know that George Bush must feel guilty about that war. On some level, he knows that that was an unjust war. And it's not like no one was saying it at the time. People were marching. You may not be old enough to remember. Millions of people marched in America and England. People said it will destabilize that region. While Saddam Hussein may not be a pleasant character, what business is it of ours to go around the world saying these people should do this, these people should do that? Now, again, to be clear, I don't know what the right thing to do is with the war between Russia and Ukraine. I feel really sympathetic as much as I can, having no direct experience or any other experience of war, for the people in Ukraine that are suffering. The only thing I want to bring your attention to is that we, most of us in the European Anglophonic West, live in countries that aren't really in a position to make clear-headed judgments about the actions of Putin abroad. It's very complicated, I would say. I reckon anything that can be done diplomatically to end that situation should be done. And I understand my limitations when it comes to analysing the complexities of geopolitical history and military conflict. But what becomes clear in a little moment like this is there is a reckoning that has to be undertaken, that we have to look at ourselves as a culture, we have to look at our past, we have to look at our actions, we have to question very seriously the motives of our own governments, our own leaders, our own military leaders, our own corporations when we find ourselves in a political conflict. None of this is to say that Putin isn't a tyrannical figure who is pursuing his own ends, who is ensuring the suffering of Ukrainian people and Russian people. But until we have systems that are based on integrity and authenticity and democracy in our own countries, it's very difficult for us to engage in foreign military conflict with a clear conscience. George Bush can't even engage in a short speech with a clear conscience, because in the back of his mind is the memory of, well, we did this when we had to. How can we possibly say that Putin can't do that when we did that? What's the difference? That it's a different geographical location, that it's a different racial and cultural identity in those nations, that it's not advantageous to us politically and economically. And knowing what you know now about the way that politics operates domestically, internationally, globally, the relationships between big business, the media, and your government, wherever you happen to be, how can you just accept what you were told? How can you blindly obey the edicts and ideas of the powerful? I've got good friends, educated people that say, no, this is a serious situation. Putin is a tyrant. We could be on the precipice of a third world war. We absolutely have to stop him at all costs, even if that means getting militarily involved. But I am extremely circumspect about that viewpoint because of my own doubts in my own government, the American government, the agencies that bring about these kind of actions, the type of media information that we are given. When someone makes a slip up like that publicly, it feels like a revelation. Did you hear the audience laughing? The audience laughed out of nervousness. That's not an audience that gets anything from seeing George Bush fail. Then that laughter is what is laughter really? Ask yourself for a moment, when do you laugh? It's the release of tension. It's a kind of nervous, pre-linguistic response from somewhere deep. All of us know now that we have to change the world. We have to change the world radically for our individual selves, for our countries, for our communities, for our friends and for our families, for the ecology, for some deeper meaning that's difficult to discern. Surely you are beginning to understand, as I am, that we're not going to do that by shuffling the papers around on our desk a little bit. Well, maybe if we did 5% more that and 7% less of that, and maybe if we had this person running the country in the exact same way instead of this person running the country in this, would that be enough? No. There's going to need to be real change, different ideas, different systems drawn from new ideologies. Some of the stuff, of course, already exists conversationally and even historically. Democracy, actual democracy, where you can control your own community through the ballot, the ability to start enterprises and businesses without knowing, in fact, that it's going to be bludgeoned out of existence by centralized corporate power, the ability to form an opinion and have a conversation about complex ideas like the pandemic or the current war in Ukraine without thinking, oh no, there's a protocol around this now, you're only allowed to say this thing, and what we have to do is have a hashtag and a flag. That's not enough anymore. The culture is not going to solve your problems. Even figures from living memory who told you, while being vilified by a particular aspect of our culture, are starting to sort of unfold in front of you, starting to reveal, starting to show their true colors. I'm not saying George Bush is a bad person, by the way. I remember hearing at the time, because he was Trump back then. That's how he was treated. Oh, this guy, oh, he's an idiot. Oh, he's a cowboy. And I remember reading someone say, a lot of people like him. And you know what they don't like? They don't like people like you that are sneering and contemptuous about machismo and a certain aspect of American identity. Now, Trump was merely an amplification of that theme, a kind of another demagogic, swaggering figure who had the ability to reach people in ways that ordinary politicians don't seem to be able to. Well, now George Bush has re-entered the fold. We now know that they have the same advisors, they go on to work for the same companies, and that these wars that they participate in are generally economic enterprises. Putin has his own reasons, Bush had his own reasons, America has its own reasons, Russia has its own reasons. How do these concepts, these wars and conflicts help you? How can you be so certain of what the right thing to do is when there's so much complexity, when there's so much deception? What we are being shown in real time by a mere slip of the tongue is that we should be extremely careful about who we vote for, about what ideas we back, about what suggestions we take seriously, about our willingness to believe in people, because it's just too hard to think about how complicated life is and how compromised our own governments are. Whilst that may have just been a slip of the tongue for George Bush, it revealed a great deal. For me, what it reveals is this: we need to change the world significantly. We need to reorganize democracy massively. We need to be open to ideas that might at first sound crazy. Do we really need to be the United States of America or the United Kingdom? Is it possible that democracy could operate at a smaller scale, a more local and meaningful scale? Are we satisfied to just shift out this figure for that figure? Are there new ways of confronting corporate and government power and ensuring that we live better lives as individuals and collectively? That little slip of the tongue has opened a portal to a world of vast possibility. It's shown us that they were lying then and they're lying now. Notice how quickly they trot out these former statesmen at times of domestic unrest when there's hyperinflation and dissatisfaction everywhere you look. Let's bring out this Mount Rushmore figure, even though at the time he was an object of absolute ridicule. The reason that war, not speaking about the particular war between Ukraine and Russia, because I don't know enough about it, but war in general is a kind of jump start in your patriotism. It can get patriotism from 0 to 10 pretty quickly. And when people are feeling afraid and when people are feeling jingoistic and USA, 4 more years. It's harder to think, hang on a minute, we ain't got no baby formula.
Right.
Why are our gas prices rocketing?
Right.
The brilliant Matt Stoller over on Breaking Points will tell you that the American dependency on Russian resources is pretty low. And so the idea that Putin is causing these price hikes is ridiculous. I don't know what the truth is, but I know that the truth ain't what they're telling you. And a little slip of the tongue like that makes it pretty clear that the truth is something that's concealed rather than revealed by the powerful. But that's just
Comments. I'm gonna read some comments underneath the video. First one says, he just described the United States perfectly while accusing others of the crimes they actually commit. That's exactly what I said. Right there. So y'all making me feel crazy. This is the first comment under the damn video. The only comment above that is penned by Russell Brand. It just says, hey, I guess, I don't know. The first comment is, he just described the United States perfectly while accusing others of crimes they actually commit. That's basically what I just said earlier. Let me read some more comments.
I call bullshit.
What do you call bullshit on?
You didn't say that.
Well, not those specific words.
You said America was great and we're not guilty of any of that bullshit. That's what I heard.
A lot of people probably did hear that because they don't want to hear nothing else.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me read another comment. It says, the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq, George W. Bush. Slight correction. 2 men, George W. Bush and Tony Blair. So much blood on both of their hands from both sides. Man, like I said, I went down the rabbit hole with Iraq. If y'all don't know what happened, yeah, it's a lot of information out there. Here's another comment. It says, as an Iraq veteran, that made my day because there's never been a different way of looking at the Iraq war. I wish more people would attempt to peer into the complexities. Another comment, it says, Iraq was not a mistake, it was deliberate. War is a business. Let me read another comment. It says, when I watched that clip, I got sick at the stomach. I supported that man and his decisions in Iraq vehemently for a very long time. It took until Trump was in office that I realized how corrupt it all was. I used to think of the political world as black hats versus white hats, and I thought my side was all pure as the driven snow. Then I saw how they treated Trump, and I started to wake up. Now I will never again look at any politician without a healthy dose of skepticism. I don't know if that's good. That's what they want you to feel too, I think. But you should be skeptical, but yeah, a lot of these people are just kind of sticking their head in Russell Brand's ass, so I don't want to read that. Here goes another one. It says, imagine being a 50-year-old Iraqi orphan and watching Bush smirk and chuckle, and then the audience laughing about the invasion of your country. And some people wonder why they hate us. Now, take that in. Imagine being a 15-year-old Iraqi orphan and watching Bush smirk and chuckle, and then the audience laughing about the invasion of your country. And some people wonder why they hate us.
Yeah.
They're all just in his ass. I'm not reading no more comments. He is good, but bruh, can we have a damn conversation instead of just in here praising the guy? I'm probably gonna move on from this topic. Y'all want to make comments? It's not that big.
I left a comment in a chat. I said, what do you think are some, because I know you've talked about this before. I said, what do you think are some tangible actions to promote and build the system and and democracy Russell Brand was talking about, because it felt like towards the end he was talking about a whole bunch of feel good fluffy stuff, and I didn't see a lot of
tangible action.
Yeah.
Well, the internet is that way. So, and I don't think and Russell Brand is making money. So he's one of the biggest, so big. He gets more clicks than it's crazy how many clicks this guy gets. So, and he's he was in movies. He's basically a comedian. That's what he was, a comedian, movie actor, funny guy, and he married, I think he got a divorce from Katy Perry. How much do y'all know about this guy? So, but anyways, what you have to understand is that, right, you're right about that. I think he's making money. You know what I mean? And I don't want to knock Russell Brand. I like Russell Brand, but he's making money, and he's kind of preaching to the choir, and it is a bunch of feel good stuff, just to kind of like gushy, but he's informative. That's why I watch him. You know what I'm saying? And so he's good at good at what he does, I think. So, yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. You see it for what it is. But the answer to your question is building a real community. And that's what I'm trying to do here with this show. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why I invite anybody to come on. And I've already created connections. Deuce and Pat done made connections. Doc was chopping it up with this dude, and we think he was in England about some damn philosophical stuff that I didn't even understand. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that here, just as the beginning, first off, we want to have conversations about these complex things that you're not supposed to talk about at school, church, work, or not even really in the public, because you might get punched in the face. So this is a safe place to come and, give your opinions and thoughts about subjects so that people can really know how people are really thinking. I think that a lot of people don't know how people really think. Nobody is honest. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is really truthfully honest. Everybody puts on a mask and is just pretending, because they're afraid, right? If we living in this politically correct society, I got to be careful what I say. Somebody might get mad, punch me in the face. So, well, like I say, this is a safe place. So that's just the beginning. The conversation is just the beginning. The point is to build connections and to build a community and ultimately to build institutions. You know what I'm saying? Actual physical places where people can go. Like, I'm really, really interested in after school programs, like for teens and adults, because I think adults need somewhere to go a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? And that helps build community too. A place that can go, you got computers, you got phones, you got internet. It's not going to make them feel uncomfortable. They could play games, whatever they want to do, really. But, it's all going to be positive and constructive type stuff. And you're going to have resources where these people can find ways to do this, that, and other. I don't want it to be like a social program. I want it to be a place where people who don't everybody goes. You know what I'm saying? And hangs out. The teenagers and everything. But anyway, that's just one of my ideas. But what I'm saying is building a real community. You know what I'm saying? That's the answer to your question. Truthfully, actually doing those things that Russell Brand is saying in that video. We can make his ideas into reality. You know what I'm saying? He's just talking and making money, but we can actually make it real. Why not?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do, because we need to be able to build money, put money together, trust each other enough, because that's what's happened in the community. Nobody trusts anybody. Like I say, everybody's lying. You can't trust anything. So you're like, we have to build that trust back. For you to build the trust back, you got to start with the conversation. News networks are not even getting clicks like that. So this shows like there's an opportunity for this, what we're doing here on this show.
So I really enjoyed seeing you be confident in your perspective. And I think that you have a lot to say, especially when I saw a lot about social issues and politics. And I will be honest, like I'm not as well versed as I probably should be. But I really appreciated being able to learn from your content. I think a lot of people, and also have a different perspective. So I think a lot of people, it's kind of like an echo chamber. They like what they like hearing, what they like hearing. And so I'm very much a person who I love seeing both sides. I love getting different perspectives. I love getting different opinions. So I really enjoy being able to learn things from people.
Yeah, man.
That's hot shit right there, man.
So who know?
We want you to be an activist, and don't take our word for it. Look that shit up. Pulley.